Hello everyone, my name is Jordan Immerfall and I am the UI Reach Academic Coordinator. Today we'll be going through an academic overview of the UI Reach program, not only the programming that we provide, but the programming that our students have access to on campus, as well as supports available to them and the policies that govern each of these areas. Our hope is that this will be helpful not only to incoming students and families, but also returning students and families as they refresh themselves with anything happening with their student on the academic side of things. So we have two main areas that our students work within while enrolled at UI Reach. One is their UI Reach coursework, and you can see the content areas that our courses focus on within the REA classes. We have academic skill building, lifelong learning, career and vocational, which will be covered in the career overview, transition and independent living, so this will cover our transition classes, and almost all of our classes have a major component working with students not only with independent living while they're here on campus, but to prepare themselves for independent living beyond campus. And then social and self-advocacy, working with students on their interpersonal interactions, building social skills from whatever level they're currently at and what goals they have in social skill building areas, but also their ability to advocate for themselves and others here on campus and beyond. And then another major component of our academic programming and support is the integrated coursework, and our students are enrolling in courses for audit and occasionally for credit, and we'll go through the details of each and what the responsibilities and supports available are for each of those, and the details you need to know as students start to explore those areas as well. So here is a brief outline of the typical course sequencing for our students. As you can see, the first year tends to have more courses, more UI Reach coursework that students will enroll in. And as they progress through the program, the opportunities for them to pick and choose the courses that they enroll in opens up a bit. And so if you look at the bottom, there are some courses listed here, and students may choose those if it fits a goal area of theirs, and they can work that into their schedule that semester, depending on the other things that they have going on. And we have some students that might take all the courses listed here that are recommended in years 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a number of the courses available in each year. Or perhaps they're only enrolling in a few of these courses, perhaps the core coursework, but not the additional available courses each year, depending on the amount of hours they might be at their internship, other things, other campus engagement pieces that they have going on, or the credit hours of integrated coursework that they are enrolled in here at the university. Students will go through each semester with their academic support team member and indicate the coursework that they're interested in and be able to provide their preferences regarding enrollment and course opportunities each year. So each semester the students will have a chance to sit down with their academic support person, but we also encourage students to talk with their support team about the courses that they'd like to enroll with as well. So within our UI Reach classes, we have UI Reach instructors, and so usually one of our professional staff is teaching the course, along with the support staff that we have, which you'll see listed at the bottom there. We have academic associates, so those are paid undergrad students that are working with our students in classrooms. It's usually not a one-to-one support situation, but we might have anywhere between 1 and 3 academic associates in a course available to help out students and float around and support them as needed. We have volunteers from the College of Education, and then we also have practicum students that are taking a course at UI and in an integrated or disability studies that might be in our course, supporting students much like the academic associates would be. Within the courses, we use our standards-based grading, and I'll touch more on that here in a second. We have differentiated course sections within each of the courses, so most of the courses have between 2 and 3 sections, and those courses are split based on their academic and full-scale IQ scores or their content-specific scores, depending on what might be in their IEP or the information that we collect once they're here. And so that allows us to provide targeted instruction to those students at the level that is best for them. We have a UDL focus, so that in short means that we are focusing on making sure students are engaged, having some choice over their learning, and also have opportunity to access content in a way that best fits their learning style, but then also produce content in a way that they're able to best demonstrate their content awareness and abilities within each of the classes. We work with students on technology and their ability to navigate technology, not only for the coursework, but how it will help prepare them for independent living, either in academics or the job place, or just communicating with those outside of each of those two areas, and also how to use assistive technology to make sure that they have all the supports and AT needed to make sure that they can access all the technology available out there. We have a big focus on student choice and self-determination. So like I mentioned, students will have an opportunity to sit down with their academic SST member each semester, go through classes, indicate what they're interested in, but also within the coursework, we want to give some student choice and self-determination over what the students are learning as well. Here's a quick snapshot of standards-based grading. So if you look on the left there, you will see all of the academic benchmarks. And while not all of those will be on the progress report each semester, you will see some or most of these each semester, depending on the courses that your student was enrolled in, or that the student was enrolled in. And for each of these, if you look at the little letters there, so for example, reading concepts, the one strand there is apply comprehension strategies. And for each of those strand benchmarks, students will receive a numeric grade. And over on the right, you will see a quick breakdown. This is obviously pretty reductive, but if you need a quick snapshot of what these grades mean, you can see on the right how we evaluate students' work and observation and assessments to arrive at a standards-based grade. And the reason that we do this instead of letter grading is that it provides students and families and or resources that students are looking to access either during or after graduation a real clear explanation of what students' abilities are in specific areas. Whereas with letter grades, you're not always getting that clarification over what a B in a certain class might mean. So in short, the 3.0 means that students are able to achieve that benchmark without any support. And so if they were out in the world on their own, it's likely that they would be able to, in general, complete the task within that benchmark without any support needed. And then as you go down the list there, you can see a little bit of a guide as to what the numbers mean and how much support is needed. And that's a way for not only us to show the supports that we provided students while they were here, but what supports that they might need when not in the setting with us here in the classroom. We generally top our scale out at 3.0, but you'll see down below, I did put that 3+. We do have scores of 3.5 and 4. We don't want to convey that these scores are often achieved by students because it's not expected. Typically, it would mean that the student is able to teach the skill to somebody else and or has mastery of the skill, which typically is not the case for most of our students. So three or depending on the students' levels when they come in here, anywhere between 2 and 3 is a great goal for most students. These standards-based grades will come out at the end of each semester, and students will get a progress report, not only from academics, but from the other content areas as well, with the numeric grades, but also some narrative grades as well. As I mentioned at the beginning, one other big piece of our program is that students audit UI courses in addition to their UI Reach coursework. So most of the time, for students in their first year, they may only choose to enroll and audit a course or two, and we have some recommended courses that I'll mention here in a bit, or down at the bottom. But often as students start working through the program, they may, in years 2 or 3 and 4, they may choose to take 2 or more classes each semester of integrated coursework. Most often the students that are interested in taking more coursework might take 2 or 3 courses, and they're able to take up to 6 credit hours. So sometimes that might mean 2 3-credit hour courses, or maybe they're taking 1 3-credit hour course and a couple 1-credit hour classes. So we like to note that students have access to most courses on campus. It's essentially the same rules that other non-degree seeking students might have on campus, or students that are not enrolled in a certain college. So for example, all the gen ed classes are open to all of our students, but courses that have a requirement of being enrolled, like in an engineering or a business college, if that college requires admission to that program to take some of those courses would not be available for our students without specific permission. And so this still means that there's thousands of classes on campus that our students can access, and it's the same rules as all other students have. They're able to access the courses that don't require a specific college enrollment. All of our students, starting in 2023, will register with Student Disability Services, and so that they have their application approved on file. We have priority registration with Student Disability Services, so you don't need to include a proof of disability. Enrollment of our program indicates that for them. And so that way students are able to receive accommodations when they enroll in courses, and we can set up the meeting with their SDS team member. And those SDS team members will help students access their accommodations in classes and are available to help support them throughout their time here at the university. The other big thing is that registration with SDS will move that student to the front of the line, or towards the front of the line when it comes to registration. And so that's another big perk, is that students have a little bit more choice when it comes to registering for classes, as opposed to being towards the end where it's based on credit hours passed. And so that's another great reason to register and have your accommodation meeting with the SDS. So as I mentioned, students can take up to 6 credit hours of integrated coursework per semester. When students are auditing a course, we will have modified course learning goals, and so that's just a chance for the student to indicate what they would like to get out of the class as they are auditing. And it could be as simple as show up to the class, participate in the course and the assignments that are happening in class, but not do the finals or the assessments at the end. Or maybe they want to complete some of the homework, but not all of it. So this is a chance for them to indicate how they would like to be measured on their success, and we'll show that to students and their support teams once we get into the courses themselves. Students in classes have the same behavioral expectations as all UI students, so as will be noted later, they need to meet those requirements and make sure that they can navigate those. We do have some supports available for students that could use a little support in this area, but just like to note that students do have the same expectations as all UI students when they're enrolled in these courses. And then also here, students may take courses for credit. Our recommended process for students is to audit courses, and that's sort of our default option. But students do have the option to take courses for credit, and we note here, and with a little bit more detail on the next slide, that those students have to meet the same requirements as all other students on campus. They still can receive SDS accommodations, but if a student is interested in taking a course for credit, we strongly recommend, especially in the first semester, that they start with a first-year seminar, an entry-level course, or another course from our recommended list. They'll have plenty of time, just like all students on campus. Almost all first-year students are starting with their gen eds, and we recommend that students here within our program start with the same. A little bit more information about the supports available for students that are taking classes for credit. So we program academic support labs. Usually we have 3 or 4 of these per week. They're 50 minutes long, and they are a supported learning environment in which students can come in, receive some light support from either undergrad or graduate students that are working for our program. And typically this will mean running through their icon site, the class website, looking at the syllabus, making sure they're aware of the assignments that they have coming up, and providing maybe some light support or guidance on getting started with an assignment. It is not one-to-one tutoring, but it's a great environment for students to have some time to work, set that time aside each week, and have a little bit of support needed and help point them in the right direction as they're working on their coursework. We like to put these at times that most students are available, and we really strongly encourage that students integrated in courses for audit or for credit attend as many of these support labs as they can. They're free to the students, and it's a great way to just have that time for them to work on class and get a little bit of help if they need it. As mentioned, SDS is available, and SDS will help with communicating or receiving accommodations for students that are in courses. Students can receive accommodations whether they be taking the class for audit or credit, but typically SDS is your best support available for students that are wanting to work with an instructor outside of the UI Reach program on their accommodations within the program or within the university. Students all have an academic student support team member, and they will meet with the student either biweekly or monthly and provide some check-ins and guidance. Talking about making sure they're on top of assignments, sort of like the academic support lab, but also helping students with just sort of the high-level things that they need to navigate the taking courses for audit or credit, and making sure that we're helping point them in the supports that are either available within the program or greater at the university that students can help or that students can take advantage of. Students are able to take advantage of UI campus supports. We strongly recommend these. Almost all of these are available to students free of charge. So there's a writing center on campus. There's other work help centers where students can go depending on the class that they're in. There's support workshops or think of these as like helping sharpen the academic tools needed to be successful in some of these classes. So it might be something like study skills or note taking, and these are available, and we have lists and links that we'll send out to all students. Private tutoring is available. There are some links on the university website, and so if a student is taking a class for credit or they would still like to complete some of the homework or work if they're auditing, because we do not provide one-to-one tutoring, we can point towards the private tutoring listings that are on the UI website. But it is up to the student and family beyond that to help arrange that tutoring, be it the scheduling and meeting and following up. We also have available one-to-one in-class support. So for students that might need additional support being successful in an integrated classroom environment, we do have academic associates that will attend class with the student that is taking the course for audit, just to help them make sure they're getting the best and the most out of the class as they are enrolled there. And so if a student and their support team believes that this is an appropriate choice for the student, and or if the program thinks that a student should have a one-to-one in-class support in an integrated course setting, this is an opportunity that we do have available and provide for students in classes. Students that are, this section at the bottom is just for students that are taking courses for credit, and we like to outline this just to ensure that students and families are aware of the responsibilities and independence needed if a student is going to take a course for credit. So overall, they need to be able to navigate the organization, the academic abilities, and the communication skills that are needed to pass the classes with the light supports that are noted above. So they can still come to the academic support labs. They can get some light support from our undergrad or grad students and the academic SST meetings. But beyond that, the students and the professional staff and student staff aren't available for ongoing, multiple hours a week support, tutoring to help the student with the class. So it's really important that students and their support teams understand and know when getting into, if they choose to take a course for credit, that a lot of the independence and executive functioning needed to do this will be required by the student. We have some great partnerships here at the university. We have some classes that students have taken for credit and done well with, but we also like to note that when the coursework happens outside of the UI Reach program, we do not have control over the content of the course, how students are assessed. The one thing that is dictated from the university is the accommodations from SDS, but outside of those accommodations, instructors are not required to provide any additional accommodations or communication with the student. They would just have their standard office hours and standard supports available like all students receive on campus. And so we can help students communicate, or if they need help, hey, how do I word this email? What would be a good way for me to advocate here? We can help provide that support on occasion, but we just like to note that we don't always have, we may not hear back from the instructor, or we may not have a partnership with most of the courses that students might take for credit on campus. And so it'll be on the student, and hopefully we have faculty members out there who are responsive and welcoming to our students, but it's not always something that we can guarantee as far as increased accommodations and things like that. And then we like to note that, as with any of the courses for credit are transferable, which is great. And so students can take courses for credit and earn credit and either, attend a university or be degree seeking later on. But all of these grades that go on their transcript are permanent. And so if they remain in the course after the first few weeks, they would either receive that permanent grade, or if they do choose to adjust their grade to a pass-fail or withdraw later on, we just note that is on their permanent transcript once they receive it from the university. All right, lastly, our UI academic success policy. So here are the things outlined for all of our students to remain in good standing at the university. So you'll receive some academic expectations within the UI Reach Student Handbook and Agreement when you enroll. So all of our students are bound to that, as well as all of the rules and regulations for all university students on campus, which includes the UI Code of Student Life regarding academic conduct, classroom behavior, and university directives. So in short, we have a few UI Reach rules, but mostly our students are just held to the same rules that all students on campus are regarding their behavior and academic content. When students are in UI Reach courses, they are required to attend at least 70%, so that's the baseline just to pass, and complete at least 70% of their coursework. And so, in short, if students are showing up and doing their best work, it's nothing that they'll ever have to worry about. But if they were to fall short of 70% attendance or 70% completion of a work, they would not receive credit for that class, which could result, if you see down there on the below, us providing an academic success plan and or a student being on academic probation for the following semester. Of course, in all of these situations, we're doing everything we can to support, work with the student on staying above these 70-70 rule, and building in extra supports to help them be successful. When students are taking integrated coursework, it's pretty basic. It's just like all other students on campus. So if they either successfully complete their audit, so show up and try their best, as outlined in their modified learning plan, or if they're taking classes for credit, as long as they pass or receive a successful audit grade, then they continue to progress through the program in good standing. If they were to receive an audit unsuccessful, which usually only happens if they're not showing up regularly, or they're not completing or showing any effort in their work, or if they were to not pass a class that they took for credit, then a student may be placed on probation not only with UI Reach, but with the university, and or have an academic success plan. Of course, in all of these instances, we're working with students the whole way, and not only supporting them through the process to avoid getting to that place, but if they were to find themselves with an academic success plan or probation, we'll clearly outline the supports that we can provide to help student be successful or get back into good standing with the university and UI Reach, and make sure that we get them back on the right track for being in good standing with the university. So that is the quick overview. Of course, we will send out information that more clearly outlines some of the specifics in some of these areas, specifically the policies, and that'll be part of the onboarding packet for first-year students. But it is always available to any students that are here with us in the program. If you have any questions, contact your academic SST member or myself, and we can always help point you in the right direction. So thanks for listening today, and take care.